Hey, this is Ralph. In this video, I want to look at how we can use conditional formatting in Excel to look at both the date and the checked status of a checkbox. So, got this comment from a viewer, and it sounds like she's got a specific situation where on a monthly basis, a certain number of employees need to go through a review. And she wants to be able to highlight that particular employee's cell if they have not been checked, hence not had the review, and the date has passed. It mentions there's a month for each row. So I've got a blank workbook set up. Let's go ahead and start off with a little bit of information here. And I guess I'll just put date over here, and then I'm going to create a few employees. So we'll have John, Sally, Luca, and Linda. Okay. And let's go ahead and get a little bit of room to work. I'll just spread these out a little bit. Now for the dates, I don't think what we want to do is just type in something like January. Just because it's going to be helpful to actually have a date value in there. So what I'm going to do is type in 1/31/24. So I'm going to type the last day of that particular month. And then for the next cell, I'm going to do equals end of month. So we want to use the end of month function, and the starting date is going to be the previous date, comma 1. And that'll give us 1 month after. Oh, that looks a little bit funny, doesn't it? So we'll just do the format painter and make sure we're formatting that date as a date. And then say, okay, there's February 29th. And if I autofill this down a bit, we can say, okay, great. So we've got the last day of the month. I think that's going to be helpful. However, you may not want to look at it this way. So I'm going to select all of those dates, head over to the number formatting. Let's bring this over here so it's convenient. And let's see, let's go to custom. And then for the date, I'm going to type MM. So if you type 1M, you get a single digit representing the month. 2 M's gives you 2 digits representing the month. 3 M's gives you the 3-letter name of the month. And I'll do 4 M's, which is going to give us the full month written out. I'm going to click OK. So now we have January through December on here, but these are tied to the months of the current year, 2024, when I'm writing this. Okay, then we have John, Sally, Luca, Linda. Now, got our employees. In order to put a checkbox into a cell in Excel, it's not bad. It's basically you head over to your developer ribbon. If you don't have the developer ribbon, then you will need to right-click on any one of your ribbons, and you're going to have to actually you're going to have to, right-click and then customize to add the developer ribbon. It gives you a few things. Specifically, it gives you some macros. But on here, we can go to developer, insert, and there's a checkbox control. I'm not going to do it this time, though, because unfortunately in Excel, it's a little bit tedious if you want to do multiple checkboxes. I'll have to tell you, it's incredibly easy in Google Sheets to do multiple checkboxes in multiple cells, which I do quite a bit, but I'm not as familiar with using checkboxes in Excel. However, I did some checking, and there's another a very good YouTuber that focuses on Excel, and let me pop that up and right here. So yeah, Excel 10 tutorial. And just so happens, had a tutorial on creating multiple checkboxes at one time in Excel using basically a macro, some VBA, some Visual Basic Scripting, which I don't know. However, this tutorial describes it for us, so we can create it pretty easily. Now I'm going to jump over to this Patreon page, and I'll have a link to this in my video description, and he gives us the code here to copy. So I am going to grab this from the sub down to the end sub. I'm going to copy that, head back over to Excel, and let's see, I need to go to developer. I'm going to go to the Visual Basic window that opens up on my other screen. Let's bring this over so you can see what I'm doing here. And let's see, I want to insert a module. And I'm just going to paste all of that code and not even doing any tweaking or anything like that. And I'll go ahead and just close that out, and I can close this out. Now I can select all of these cells for all of these employees and all of these dates. Actually, I'm going to go just make all these a little bit taller first, and now I'll just go ahead and select all of those cells. I can go to, still in my developer ribbon, I can go over to macros, and I can see that I've got the add checkboxes script. So, and now that we've done that VBA script, you can see we have a little option here to add checkboxes. I've actually got two because I did this a little bit earlier too to test it out. So I'll just go ahead and click on this one and run it, and it's going to go ahead and pop in. And now I've got a bunch of checkboxes, and they're all unchecked, so they're in their false state. And that's how checkboxes are measured. They're a Boolean. You can either be checked, which is true, or unchecked, which is false. As a quick example, I'll just do a count off to the side of the trues. We'll do an equals count if. And I guess I want B2 to E2, and I want the true status. I will just click on that, make it absolute. There we go, so we'll get 0 trues selected, but let's go ahead and count the falses as well. And I've got 4 for those, and it should be 4 for each particular employee in each particular month. So as we check some of these boxes and change them out, obviously we will recount the number of trues and recount the number of falses. Okay, so that's good to know. We have this false true scenarios, but maybe we don't want to see that text. So something we can do here pretty easily is we can just select all of these, and I will make the text color white. So now we don't see those true-false readouts being displayed, but we can still check and uncheck. And by the way, whenever you check a box, the entire clickable zone, so if I were to right-click, you'd see it's the size of the cell is going to fit with that. So we can obviously make the cell smaller, which will make the clickable zone smaller for those particular checkboxes. However, the viewer in question, they want to highlight checkboxes that are false or unchecked, and if they are in the past. So I'm recording this video on February 27th, near the end of the February month. So really the only month that has passed is January. So let's take this in stages. I'm going to start off by selecting all of the checkboxes for all of the employees for all of the months. And on the home ribbon, I'm going to head over to Conditional Formatting. Let's go to a new rule, and let's focus our attention on a formula to determine the cells. And let's start off very, very simple. I want to say that for equal to B2. Now, whenever I type a B2 in here, I'm typing B2 because that is the first cell in the range of cells that I'm going to be applying this conditional formatting to. And B2 is going to be a relative cell reference. Perfectly fine with that. Now, if B2 equals false, and I'll do that in capital letters even though you don't really need to, then basically any cell that is unchecked is going to get this particular formatting. Now, when it comes to Boolean true and false, you don't have to put those in quotation marks like you do with normal text. And I'm going to go ahead and format these as with a red fill, and because I still don't want to see that text, I'm going to go to the font and I'm going to make that a red font. Click OK, and there we go. So we've just conditionally formatted a bunch of cells if they are unchecked, but that's not completely what the questioner was asking about, because they should only be highlighted red if they're unchecked and it's in the past. So we need to modify our conditional formatting rule. Now my range is still selected, so no worries there. I'll head back to conditional formatting, manage rules, go to my existing conditional formatting rule, and I'm going to edit it. So definitely the checkbox being unchecked is going to be part of this, but we also want to enhance this with an AND function. So I'm going to write AND with an opening set of parentheses, and we definitely want to know if the checkbox is false, comma. Now my AND function is going to have two parameters. Is the checkbox false, and is the date. Now this time when I write the date, I'm going to write in $A2. I'm doing a absolute, or it's a mixed reference, but it's an absolute column A and a relative row 2. I definitely want the 2 to be relative because I want to use this for all the different rows based on their particular month. So we know that's a date in there. Remember, January 31st, 2024 is the date hidden behind that A2 January cell. So if that date is less than today's date, so the today function gives us the current date, and I'm simply going to have a empty set of parentheses there, but then I need a closing parentheses to finish off the AND function. And I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to click OK. Now we can see the only people that are highlighted red are those that are unchecked and in the past. This is late February, so January is the only month in the past, and I can see that John and Sally missed their review. They didn't get their checkbox. Now, if we were to check them, then obviously that red goes away, and if we uncheck other employees, they get the red. Well, what about Sally in April? Well, that's in the future, so the fact that it's not checked is not a concern to us at the moment. But once May 1st rolls around, then any of these past dates that are unchecked will be formatted. So that is basically the gist. And let me head back over to my conditional formatting. I'm going to go to Manage Rules, and I will edit this rule just so you can see this again. And basically, equals and B2 equals false, comma, and then A2 less than today. Of course, relative references sometimes when essential, absolute references sometimes when essential. Thank you for hanging out with me.